and Mr. Chambers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Minister. It's nice to see you. Nice to have you. We heard testimony yesterday about 4.7 million CEWS applicants and 2.2 million recipients of CERB. Can you let us know how many of these applications have been checked for eligibility?
Welcome to the House and welcome to the committee, Mr. Chambers. If the question is about whether we are being careful that people who receive government benefits are eligible for those benefits and whether we are careful
I think the question
about
is how many of them have
there
been
is
checked.
no fraud, I want to assure you that we are careful. I do also want to say the scope and scale of these programs is unprecedented, and that is a reality as well.
Thank you. You mentioned a couple times about the extension of the Canada Recovery Hiring Benefit. We have not been given any details about how effective that benefit has been. Can you let us know how many people have taken advantage of the Canada Recovery Benefit today?
The Canada Recovery Hiring Benefit is a relatively new program. It started only during the summer. We think that it is a program worth continuing and indeed increasing because of our focus on jobs, 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 and because we understand that it's hard for businesses in these very uncertain times to bring on another person. That's a difficult, risky decision. With the Canada Recovery Hiring Benefit, we're making that a little bit easier. And the other thing that the Canada Recovery Hiring Benefit is designed to address is hours worked. One of the things that we saw during COVID was hours worked declined, and there were some people who wanted to work full-time who found themselves only working part-time. I think in many circumstances, this was because of good employers who didn't want to fire someone but couldn't afford to and couldn't justify keeping them on full-time.
Thank you.
This Canada Recovery Hiring Program is going to help encourage employers to bring people back to full hours, which is what they need.
Thank you. So to be clear, we're being asked to further extend a benefit from a program for which we don't have details on how effective it's been. And we're also being asked to extend additional benefits for individuals through a process through which we're unable to ascertain how effective it's been in detecting fraud or ineligibility. A fairly simple question. What was the GDP growth rate in Q2 of this year? Because we like to talk about the Q3 GDP, as I hear you mention a number of times.
I sure do. And of course, in Q2, GDP did contract. That was to do with the very necessary lockdowns in the second quarter to contain a surge in COVID. I think we are all familiar with the measures that were taken, including in the province which I represent as a member of Parliament for Toronto of Ontario. Those lockdowns did impose.
Member, you've got a minute and 15 seconds.
That's wonderful. Thank you. That was one of the largest contractions we've actually seen in quite some time. So I think as a new member, I appreciate, Minister, you providing some feedback and lessons to a new member about irresponsible political posturing and caution about talking down the market. But since I used to advise the Minister of Finance, I perhaps would offer some advice. You know, we can cherry pick stats to show how good or how bad some things are. And if we're intent on comparing the record of response to economic crisis, post 2008, which you seem to talk down, Canada led the G7 in growth. We led the G7 in unemployment for most of those years. We also had very low inflation. And if you compare that to some of the stats today, we spent more or as much and more than most other countries. We lag our peers in growth, and we have the second highest inflation in the G7. So I think we need to just understand that we can cherry pick stats that show a particular narrative, and I would maybe just caution against that. Thank you.
That's your time. We're now